I'd always heard great things about Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem on Gamecube, but before I bought my first copy 10 years ago, I never really knew exactly what it was. I'm not sure how I'd describe the game, but it's nothing like what I was expecting. It's not really horror, but it's not like just a straight adventure game either. It's kind of a hybrid of them. Most of what I had heard and seen online before playing was comparisons to Resident Evil, so I went into the game expecting a typical survival horror game that would keep me constantly on edge. I definitely see why that comparison is made. It does play almost exactly like Resident Evil, but I'm not sure that it's a good comparison when we're talking about the feel of the game. Eternal Darkness is definitely a very foreboding game, but I'm not sure horror fits it like it does with Silent Hill, Resident Evil, and Dead Space. It's a very creepy and atmospheric game, but it's not a scary game per se. As I dug deeper, I started to see some people describe it as Lovecraftian, with sort of the cosmic horror feel to it, and I think that's a much more apt description, as it does feel a lot more like some of Lovecraft's works than horror games that we're used to. While it kept me on edge less than Resident Evil, the story had me much more interested. The characters were much more well-developed, although still not perfect, and I just overall found it to be a more engrossing game than I was expecting. I'm not going to spend too much time on the plot so as to avoid spoilers in case anyone else joins me on the SS late to the game here, but the basic plot is that you have to stop an immortal zombie guy from ancient Rome from summoning an evil god to destroy the world. The story revolves around the Tome of Eternal Darkness, a book very similar to the Necronomicon in that it's bound in human skin and bone. The game is largely broken up into chapters of the Tome of Eternal Darkness, with each chapter taking place in various locations around the world and times throughout history. Each chapter follows a different character, but it all ties back into the main protagonist, Alex, in 2000 CE Rhode Island, and around whom the story really revolves. She's looking into all this because her uncle was mysteriously murdered, and she was the last one left to inherit his things, including the Tome of Eternal Darkness that she finds while trying to investigate who could have killed him and why. It's definitely an uncommon method of storytelling, and one that I'm not usually fond of, with frame stories and jumping around between characters and settings, but it works really well here. Visually, this is not going to impress anyone in 2026, but it looks really good for a game from a quarter century ago. The performance is pretty smooth, and the gameplay mechanics, balancing your health with your sanity, and do I avoid enemies to maintain health, or do I fight them to regain sanity? Those are some mechanics that really give it a lot of depth that a lot of other games of the era lacked. If you want a horror game, Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem is definitely not the game for you. If you want a dark game, however, then look no further. It's got a good amount of its own lore that you learn little by little throughout the game, and the narrative is like a book that you can't put down once you get hooked in, because you have to know what happens next. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea with the jumping between characters and settings, but if you can get past that, or if you do like that in games, this is a really good experience. My rating for Eternal Darkness Sanity's Requiem on the Gamecube is an A.